Oh, interesting. Bulge pot, huh? Number 8, bulge pot with gate mark and flat ears. Nice. That is one of those stovetop kettles that that they were first making when they began coming out with the wood burning stoves. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, once again to Cast Iron Wednesday. Of course, this is a long running tradition that many of the smaller YouTube cooking channels have been doing for a number of years now. We do a cast iron video on Wednesday because, well, it's a fun tradition. It gives us an excuse to play with, show off, and of course, cook in cast iron. And that's one reason why I am going to be cleaning some cast iron tonight. Um, Although I will have to confess right away that unfortunately digging into my lye tank was not quite as exciting an experience as I expected. However, we are still going to be busy talking about and cleaning cast iron tonight. But yes, I've been doing these videos now for about 4.5 years. We're actually getting close to 4.75 years now because August or so will be about the 5th anniversary of doing these live videos. And boy, I'm really having trouble believing that it's actually been 5 years. But, well, not yet. However, again, the subject of tonight's video is, in fact, just that. This is a subject of cast iron that anybody at all who owns even one cast iron pan is very familiar with. And that is, of course, cleaning cast iron. Because it is a fact that cast iron does have to be cleaned, and it is well known as well that cast iron can easily rust if we don't take care of it. Dealing with rust is pretty much a way of life in this kind of hobby, but it's really not that difficult. So I will greet everybody who's been kind enough to be here this evening and maybe show off some of the pans that are over here on my right as well. So hello to everybody who has once again been kind enough to show up here. Hello to William Hurt, and hello to Val's Black Cats Ruled, and Ronald Coward, and Pat Z, and Corey Clark, and Greg Hart, Sam Ostroff, and Flash 1499. Hello, everyone. Yes, hello to everybody who has been kind enough once again to show up here. Yeah, I like seeing familiar faces each week, and thank you very much. And with any luck, we may see some new faces as well. But as I've mentioned already, I think I may want to get over here. Um, as I'd mentioned already, I've intended to clean out my lye tank tonight and see what was in there that I've managed to acquire over the past several months. And well, as I said, I went out digging in the lye tank a little earlier this evening, and I did actually pull out a few pieces anyway. Oh, good grief. Yeah, a few pieces. Ugh. Still heavy. And it's not as exciting as I would have hoped. And the main reason for that, I realize, is because the really interesting cast iron pans that I acquired last fall and put in the lye tank, I actually already cleaned them out and you cleaned them up and gave them away as Christmas presents. You may remember around that time of year, I had at least 4 interesting cast iron pans that I had managed to acquire and gave away. What I do still have a few things here, though, that we'll be able to take a look at. And I suppose if you've been collecting for any length of time, no, if you're let me try that again. If you're a newcomer to cast iron, a score like these would still be really exciting, and there's no reason not to be excited about this. After all, managed to score some good cast iron at a low price. None of these are extremely rare. I'm not going to be pulling out a Griswold number 11 or something out of this bucket, for instance. So it's going to be a little bit more ordinary than that. I guess I might as well. What do we have here? Hello, Fuzzfork8. I have emails that it looked like Lodge may not be making enamel cast iron anymore. Already? Really? That seems a little bit surprising. I will have to look into that. That would be another topic entirely. And I guess we'll have to find out. On one hand, I'm wondering if it may actually have to do with a trade war that's going on, but I'm not going to get into those kind of politics. We're here to clean cast iron, but that is interesting and something that we may need to find out. Although, again, we are here to clean cast iron tonight. So that means I guess I better start out. Yeah, one other thing as well is that as I went going through my lie tank tonight, I somehow managed to end up losing 3 out of the 4 gloves I have here for managing lie. Um, I seem to have misplaced the other one of these gloves. I'm not sure where it went to. It might actually still be in the back of my garage or something. But both of the long arm length rubber gloves that I use for going into the lie tank, both of them developed holes tonight. So I mean, one of them actually, when I pulled it out, I was everything was stuck together, and there was actually a hole right between one of the fingers there, and so that meant that was no good. The other one somehow managed to get a hole in it as I was digging out things out of the lie tank. So I'm a little surprised about that, and that means I'm going to have to get myself another set of long rubber gloves because I do want to keep digging into that lie tank. Nonetheless, I was able to pull a few things out. As I said, I'm going to complement this with some more interesting cast iron as well, even if it has already been seasoned. Bluets are great. Yeah, bluets are great for protecting your hands. Yeah, these are really good gloves as well. So I'm a little miffed at myself because I seem to have misplaced the other one tonight. Nonetheless, I guess I better get started with the best one that I managed to acquire. And in fact, I managed to find this one on my birthday just last year when I was browsing through a local antique mall. I managed at a decent price. I managed to find a Wagner square skillet. This particular one here has the typewriter style font on it, and it does not have anything like a made in USA mark. So that means this would more likely be maybe a 1950s era or so Wagner square skillet. So this is a really nice pan here. And so it's definitely one that's worth cleaning up. It's been in the lye tank since November, and most of the gunk is already off of it, in fact. So I'm thinking it's really not going to be difficult to scrub this one. As you can see, there's some residual rust on it as well. Okay, gotta love the square skillets. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, and here's the reason why this camera is at a different angle. I put it up here on the counter so that we can get a view of the sink here. Anyway, cleaning up rusting cast iron is not difficult and not expensive. Not if you have the right tools for the job, as they say. First, let's wet this down a little bit. Just doing this actually gets rid of a fair amount of the gunk as it is. Now from here, it's time to get out probably my favorite cast iron cleaner, which would be, let me move this a little closer, my favorite cast iron cleaner, which would be Barkeeper's Friend. Or as you might want to call this, cast iron cook's friend or cast iron collector's friend. This stuff is great. It is a good rust remover. You can liberally apply it, and it is cheap, as you know. I believe these things are like about $2 a can at Walmart. If you don't have Barkeeper's Friend in your kitchen, you need to have Barkeeper's Friend in your kitchen if you take care of cast iron in any way at all. Because it's really just a matter of giving this thing a good scrubbing on the inside. Barkeeper's Friend actually is very, very mildly acidic. Not enough to burn your hands or anything like that, which is why we can do this without wearing gloves. But it's the acid, the acid content of Barkeeper's Friend that is what makes it a fantastic rust remover. One side, let's do a little bit here on the other side. As you can see, I'm not measuring it out or anything like that. It's that easy. The real thing, though, especially with Wagner's, it seems like, the real thing is that once I get this thing cleaned off, I'm going to have to be sure to prevent flash rust. And that's where we will go from here. Looks like I need to wet down, there it is, wet down the handle as well, even though that's not in bad condition at all. Anyway, This did not take a lot of effort. The lye really removed just about all of the gunk from the inside of the pan. Lye does not remove rust, and that's why it was necessary to give this thing a cleaning with barkeeper's friend. So now that we've done all that, simply rinse and scrub it off. And lo and behold, just like that, the pan has a nice silvery color, whereas just a few minutes ago, as you saw, it definitely looked rusty. Right. Not bad at all. However, I can't waste time because the flash rust will set in if I don't hurry. That means time to bring out the paper towels. All I really need to do is give this thing a decent wiping off. Now, I don't even need to make this bone dry itself. Yeah, I kind of like developed or ended up making this my procedure for cleaning cast iron. As you can see, I'm just wiping it off with paper towels, getting rid of most of the excess moisture. Again, it's not going to be bone dry, but dry enough that I will be able to coat every inch of this with Crisco. And Crisco I have been using pretty much since the beginning, thanks to the lessons learned from Jeffrey Rogers, the culinary fanatic. There we go. Most of the, as you can see, most of the moisture is gone, which means now get to pull out a rag. Dollar store rag, or I think Dollar Tree or something like that. I don't go for the microfiber ones that they have. I just go for your typical face cloth. And with that, I have to quickly get down every inch of the surface here. Oh yeah, and let me show one other thing. I've got this little tiny little cast iron. Yeah, it's a Dutch oven. It's one of those mini ones, and as you can see, I'm liberally applying Crisco to it. Um, I'm not actually going to be seasoning it right now. So, I mean, when seasoning cast iron, you do have to just have a thin coating. But as I said, I'm not doing that. So right now, you can make it nice and thick. The idea here is to cover every inch of it, and that way you will have a layer between the iron and the air, which is what prevents flash rust. So now that we have that, make sure I've got every part, even the handle here. This is not looking too badly at all, and this has not even been seasoned yet. So here is our Wagner square skillet. And now that I've done that, again, the pan is not bone dry. I still actually have to dry off the pan, which is why, again, this is how I do it. And everybody probably has their own methods, and I'm certainly not disagreeing with that. Now that we've done that, I'm just going to stick this in a 225-degree oven. And that's number one. Yeah, 225 degrees is higher than the boiling point of water. So my intention is it's not going to start burning off it's not going to start carbonizing the Crisco on it. On the other hand, it should cause the any excess water there with it trapped under the pan to evaporate, so that in a few minutes or so we will have a cast iron pan that is still coated with Crisco, but it will be dry enough to season without rusting. And that's my basic first step for managing cleaning cast iron. Okay. Do you ever change the lye in your lye tank, or can it be reused repeatedly? Lando Calrissian. Yes, it can be reused repeatedly. I know people here in this community who have had their lye tank in operation for years. Um, every so often, and in fact, I should probably do this now that spring is done, is here. Just simply go and get yourself another container or two of lye at like Walmart or the like, and just simply dump it into your existing lye tank to kind of like refresh it. And that's pretty much all you need to do. Also, if it looks as though the liquid level is getting low, add more water to it. And that's really all that you need to keep doing. The lye can indeed be reused pretty much indefinitely. Over time, it will develop a layer of sludge on the bottom of the tank. All of the stuff that's dissolving in the lye, it has to go somewhere. It's not suspended in the lye and it doesn't evaporate. It ends up collecting again as a layer of sludge on the bottom of the tank. If you feel that it's getting to the point where that layer of sludge needs to be taken care of, then you may want to make a project out of emptying the lye tank and cleaning it out. How would one dispose of the lye if need be? That's one of the more famous questions regarding using lye. And the answer is good news. Lye is drain cleaner. I mean, literally, you buy it in the plumbing section of the of your supermarket or Walmart or wherever or hardware store. It's meant for cleaning the drains. And what's more, cleaning cast iron in lye does not produce any kind of a mysterious chemical reaction. It does not generate any toxic waste, not unless you throw something with toxic waste into the lye tank. All it does is again it dissolves it and causes it again that layer of sludge on the bottom of the tank, so that what you end up with is still really no more than just drain cleaner. Meaning that if you need to get rid of some or all of the lye, it is completely legal to dump it down the drain. Assuming, of course, your plumbing can handle that. Because it's well known that if you have a self contained plumbing system that goes to a septic tank, for instance, lye could very well damage it. I don't know if it will damage the actual mechanics of the septic tank, but supposedly, there's supposed to be bacteria and cultures or whatever they call them living in that septic tank that are supposed to be there, and lye could very well kill that off. So, I mean, if you're in an area with a professional or city or public plumbing system, then it is generally safe to simply pour the lye down the drain in the same manner that you would use drain cleaner. All right, you can water down the lye water and use it in your lawn. It's good for the soil. That's another thing too. Yeah, I mean, let me see. Is there any residue from the iron which would be problematic to put down the drain, not the lye itself? In general, no. Lye is the chemical properties of lye is it does not affect cast iron. It is complete. And cast iron is completely neutral in lye. That's one reason why you can throw a cast iron pan into a lye tank and let it sit there for weeks, months, arguably years, although I'm sure most people don't want to keep it in that long. But yeah, it's again, these pans here I've had in the lye tank since last November. So November, December, January, February, March, April. It's been 6 months already. And the iron itself has not been damaged by the lye. That's just because of the chemical properties. So it dissolves the organic, all of the built up crusty stuff very nicely. But it has not touched the iron. That's why again, lye is like a set it and forget it. Lye is actually okay. One more little rant, I guess, about lye is probably all we need, especially because these days especially on the internet, as you know, there's a big general scare campaign going around for anything at all that can be considered chemicals. Oh no, chemicals. That's an evil word. No matter what it is, it's chemicals. It's not natural. It's toxic. And yes, it's true with some chemicals. But as far as chemicals are concerned, lye is actually relatively natural and relatively safe. It is hazardous enough that you do have to handle it with gloves, yes. But as it's already been said here, it's drain cleaner that can be safely be poured down the drain. It is environmentally safe. If you dilute it enough, you could even spread it over your lawn. Lye originally came from wood ash, from ash, from fires, from wood fires. I seriously doubt that's how they make lye these days. They probably actually do use chemical reactions to produce lye. But the point being is just that lye is an environmentally safe chemical. And as long as you take the proper precautions, and that is the key word, be prepared when using lye. Use protective gear. If as long as you do that, then lye is actually quite safe to use. And that again is why I love my lye tank. It also uses my lye tank also uses no electricity, and which is why once again I can toss cast iron pans in there and just forget them until it's time to clean them out. I use celery, carrots, green pepper if I'm making a mayo-based salad. Well, I don't think that has to do with lye, but okay. I think I asked the wrong question. Would the residue removed from the iron be damaging to the drain? And is that residue in the solution? All of that sludge and everything that collects at the bottom of the tank. Um, it depends on what that stuff is made of. I don't think I can give a definitive answer to that because, I mean, lye is a chemical, sodium hydroxide. The sludge that you get at the bottom of your lye tank has who knows what. It depends on what was dissolved in the lye. Some people, for instance, throw painted pans in there and let the lye dissolve it, and it usually does a really good job. But then you've got paint residue there on the bottom of the tank. So that stuff, who knows? It might be necessary, perhaps, to dispose of it in a same manner that you might dispose of toxic waste. So I am not here. Here's where I try to cover my own butt by saying I'm not a professional. I don't have enough expertise to really give professional advice on that kind. I mean, all I'm doing is just giving very basic common sense advice about lye. The other stuff, the other chemicals, the other stuff that you collect in the lye tank, I do not know enough about. And so I am not going to give any kind of a definitive answer about that because I can't. I don't know enough about it. All right. I hope that helps, though. Use the sludge in your compost pile. Well, you can certainly do that. You love black olives and everything. Yeah. When they stole pans out, remember when they stole pans out of your lye tank? No one's ever stolen pans out of my lye tank. A few years ago, I did actually have a little scare where I thought someone had stolen something out of the lye tank, but I turned out to be wrong. Um, that pan did in fact show up. So I have yet to have anything stolen out of my lye tank. And even though back then, a few years ago, I was living in the hood, I was living in a rather drug infested area of a fairly large Massachusetts city. And in fact, my home was broken into once, and some things of mine were taken. They didn't touch the cast iron. So, yeah, that just shows you how little interest your typical junkie has in something like cast iron. All right. Anyway, I have used hamburger grease mixed with lye to make lye soap. Yeah, that's the other thing. Lye can indeed be used to make soap. Okay, however, let's get down to cleaning another cast iron pan, shall we? This one is also interesting. Well, kind of interesting. You know, I'm not sure if some folks may wonder what I'm doing here. Why am I taking the time to restore an Asian made cast iron pan? Well, the answer is this is something that I actually find amusing enough that I actually want to collect this. What is it? It is an Asian-made cast iron pan with absolutely no markings at the very top and bottom. And it has a very long, very thin handle on it. But you know what? I am fairly convinced, although I have no evidence of this is my personal theory. I believe that this pan may be the actual model that was used by Pixar, the animation studio. No, I'm wrong. Disney, the animation studio, when they made Tangled. Yes, it's true. It's the frying pan. I mean, I really think this thing looks almost exactly. Is this cracked? Holy cow, is it cracked? Wait a second. It's not cracked. It is not cracked. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, I really think this is the Tangled frying pan, the model that they used, even though I don't have any evidence of it. And it's really for that reason that I actually, especially since I came across it cheap, it was amusing enough that I actually wanted to get this. Frying pans. Who knew? This one is also nicely cleaned up from the lye, and yet it still has some residual rust on the top and bottom. That's a Wagner looking handle. Yeah, it certainly does seem to be a Wagner looking handle, doesn't it? It is not quite exactly the same. Also, this is a much more shallow pan than your typical American made cast iron pan. So it's more almost like a huge crepe pan or cookie skillet type of thing. So that's why it is definitely made in Asia, but that's why I'm convinced it's not a Wagner. However, let's get this thing cleaned up because it's still a decent cast iron pan, and so I see no reason not to clean it up. Let me move this over again. Okay, which means first I better wet it down. And once again, yay, here's another excuse for me to use actually, I'm going to even take this glove off. Some barkeeper's friend. I've already plugged barkeeper's friend once, and they're not paying me to do it. So I'm not going to keep showing you the can again and again and again. Again, I just simply liberally apply it, so to speak, and start with the elbow grease. It does take a little time. I'm guessing like maybe about a minute or so for the acidic properties of the barkeeper's friend to really have an effect. So I don't want to rinse it off immediately. And let's do the same thing here on the back. There we go. I'm using steel wool for the record. Steel wool is softer than cast iron, so it's actually not going to scratch the pan. It's different from a wire brush. My understanding is a wire brush uses a harder grade of steel than steel wool, which uses a relatively soft steel. There we go. As you can see, it now has more of a gray color. And once again, when we rinse it off, got the nice silvery color you would like to see from a brand new cast iron pan. Also, once again, I'm going to have to coat this very quickly before flash rust sets in. Very quickly indeed. I'm almost starting to think it might be starting to rust up already. So let's get this thing going here. Another paper towel. All right. So far, so good. And unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier tonight, these are really the only decent cast iron pans I was able to find in the lye tank. I have a couple of other things there yet that I'm going to pull out, which aren't too bad, but as you can see, I did not. My actual real scores, I managed to. I already cleaned up before Christmas. However, I am going to be showing other cast iron pans that I have acquired within just the last year or so. So, because I do want to make it up to you. Anyway, once we do that, once again, let's get the rag, Crisco. A lot of Crisco is fine because, again, I'm not actually trying to give this a thin coat yet. That's for when we actually start seasoning it. The idea here is, like I said, to prevent flash rust, because I'm then going to pop this into the oven to heat it up and dissolve the water, or the little bit of water that is still within the surface, the pores or the cracks or whatever you call them of the pan. But this does not look too badly. And here it is again. It's the frying pan with absolutely no markings on the front and back or top and bottom. And I still say this handle does look like the one from Tangled. Yes, it does have a little ridge here on the front, which I suppose is probably meant as a thumb rest. It's not quite the same as a Wagner. But now that I have the Tangled frying pan, well, I don't know. I'll find some use out of it, even if it ends up just being a costume prop. And once again, let's go and pop this thing in the oven. And that's 2. All right, so that's not too difficult. Okay, let's see here. VBCR. Some of my favorite soaps use lard and vegetable oils. Have wanted to try beef tallow, but not easy to find locally. That's why we have a variety of veggies. Oh, okay. Type in making tallow. It's all over the internet. Oh, I see. You're talking about making soap, essentially. Yes, which of course is one of the, the most popular things to do with lye. That is absolutely true. Any other sludge that may contain, I missed that. Any other sludge that may contain paint can be tossed in an old coffee can and thrown out or buried in a deep hole. That's certainly true too. All right. Anyway, serve this cold, right? Macaroni salad. You can have cold macaroni salad. No reason not to. But so anyway, that's the basics really of just that of restoring cast iron. I threw those pans into the lye tank in this case for about 6 months, because I know lye works better in warm weather. However, during the winter, it still works, just at a much slower rate. That's why I've had these pans in the lye tank for 6 months. But it did a good job of cleaning them up. And now that we've gone this far, we will be able to get the seasoning done. There are still a couple of other things in this little bucket here yet that I can pull out. But before I do, I think I'm going to bring out one other one. You see, here is something that I acquired at a yard sale for, I think it was $3, $4, maybe a year or so ago. You might remember this. Did you say $3, $4? Yup. This one, in fact, I did acquire for about $4 or so. So naturally, I had to grab it up. However, there is one problem with this particular lid, and this lid, I'm fairly certain the lid is cracked. I'm not sure if you can see it well in this light, but the part here, especially by the word skillet, you can see a long, thin line that does suggest there's a crack because on the underside, there is a crack under here by the patent USA that matches that. So this is, in fact, a cracked Griswold lid. And I guess that's one reason why I haven't done anything with it. And what's more, this lid has unfortunately sat in my give it away pile now for more than a year. And as you can see, it's starting to develop rust spots. And that's why I brought it out tonight because I realized this would be a good time to clean up this rust and get this into a good condition again, even though it still has the seasoning that I applied to it. Because this is something that happens to many people who own and use cast iron. You start getting these little rust spots on your pan, and you're thinking, "Oh, great! What am I going to do? Am I going to have to strip and season the entire pan and start over from scratch?" Well, the good news for that is no. All we really need to do is get rid of these little spots of rust, and then we'll be able to just season the pan one more time, and that should or this lid rather. It's not a pan, and that should be all we need. All we need. That's why I brought it out so that I'd have a good excuse to do this. I have an aluminum lid that looks just like your Griswold number 8 skillet lid. It's probably an aluminum Griswold lid. They actually did make some aluminum pans and or Dutch ovens and skillets and even lids. So you're probably right about that. Anyway, what we've got here, as I said, this thing definitely has spots of rust on it, which means we're gonna give it the same treatment, the same barkeeper's friend treatment. Once again, yeah, here we go. Maybe barkeeper's friend should pay me for this because I keep plugging them again and again and again. Anyway, all I'm doing right now is I'm just getting it wet. Then from there, once again, do this off and get out my steel wool and start scrubbing, especially the rusty areas. So this is not going to be difficult at all because, yes, as I said, I am not removing the seasoning that I already put onto it. If anything, I hope I'm going to be reinforcing it. Once again, as I mentioned, Barkeeper's Friend is a great rust remover, especially since this is really not much more than surface rust. It's not exactly deep down rust, ingrained rust. So that's why after only about a minute or so, it's really all we need to do to take care of that rust. And then we will once again, actually I want a little bit of warm water. I don't want it to be too cold. Rinse it off. And treat it exactly like those other two pans I have in the oven. Which means, yet again, there we go. The rust is taken care of at least, but we have to make sure it's permanently taken care of. And I don't want to drop this either. Here we go. Let's quickly rinse it off, or wipe it off rather. So this may not have come from the lye tank, at least initially, but I did have it in the lye tank in the first place when after I first found it at that flea market. I cleaned it up and then seasoned it. So I'm hoping that makes up for the lack of really nice cast iron that I found in the lye tank tonight. Anyway, once again, all I'm doing is just drying it off enough so that I can get out that rag once again, dab it in the Crisco, and give this pan a coating to prevent oxidation. Oxidation, such a fancy word. It almost sounds like a chemical reaction. Okay, once we've done this, do the underside. Yeah, I've been debating whether or not I should actually use this pan because of the crack. I mean, the crack is noticeable. It's kind of like it's in an odd place. I'm wondering if something actually fell on this to cause this kind of a crack because the crack does not go to the edge. I mean, how else would you get a crack right there in the center of a lid? So my best guess is just that something fell on it. Anyway, there we go. I've got this thickly coated with Crisco. Make sure to include the edges. And we will once again stick this in the oven. Turn this around again. Number 3. All right. So far, so good. Yeah. Just use it, won't hurt a thing. Well, I suppose not. I mean, if it cracks, well, then it cracks. I mean, again, what can I do? So you may very well be right about that. All right. Let's check the comments once again. Make sure I didn't accidentally mute this. It's still a good showpiece. Yeah, I'm not a fan of showpieces, but that's just me. Or it could have fallen on something hard. Yeah, someone could have accidentally knocked it onto the floor, perhaps. You could very well be right. To each its own, I guess, in the case. We should drink shots every time he says barkeeper's friend. Okay, barkeeper's friend. Glug, take a shot. One of the things I like about barkeeper's friend is that it's less caustic version of Comet. I haven't really taken a look at the ingredients in Comet, but you may very well be right. Actually, I thought Comet had lye in it. I recently scored a hammered club aluminum 5-quart roaster at a thrift store for $10. Well, that was certainly a good deal, William Hurt. I'm hoping you get a good use out of it, or you resell it. Lids seem to be not on our list to buy until you need one. Yeah, that's usually the case. And that's why lids are more rare and typically more valuable even than the pans themselves. Because it's like you can cook in a cast iron pan without a lid, but you can't cook in a cast iron lid without a pan. Well, you can actually, but it's a lid. It's not, I mean, we just normally don't. Comet has bleach. Okay, I was wrong about that. As I said, that shows how I know very little about Comet. Okay, now that we've done that, let me go to the next one. This is one I'm actually I am looking forward to showing this one off. May not be a cast iron pan, but if this was yet another flea market find I made several months ago. It's under here, and here it is. It's another Wapak. Notice I'm pronouncing it Wapak sad iron. This one is it a 6? I'm believing it's a 6. Oh, great. I'm getting this all over the counter. I better put this in the sink right now and then wipe all this off. My bad. Anyway, yeah, that once again, I'll show that again. Let's get this over to the sink. Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a Wapak 5 sad iron, but when I came across this at the flea market, I discovered it's a 6. And so that means I'm lucky enough to be able to have two sad irons. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep both of them. If I were to keep one, I might actually keep this one because it's a little bit heavier. I mean, you've seen what I use my sad irons for, making pressed chicken. But enough of that. Let's start cleaning this thing up, shall we? But yeah, this is yet another score that I'm quite happy to have come across. Oh yeah, boy, look! Actually, look at this. So yeah, this thing still has a residue. I think this thing was painted, in fact. All right. Well, in that case, let's get out the yeah, barkeeper's friend glug. Let's see what we can do to scrub this thing off. Fortunately, it looks like the lye has done a pretty good job dissolving that too. So even after a few months, it still had some residue on it. However, it does appear to have been loosened rather nicely. A little bit more here on the bottom. There we go. It's definitely a sad iron. It does weigh 6 pounds, that's for sure. Although maybe I should put it on the scale after this thing has been seasoned to verify that. More. Come on. A little bit more under here. Having a little trouble getting into the underside here. There we go. It's definitely coming off. All it requires is the elbow grease. Now it's looking better. Of course, the other thing is this part of the iron is not going to be touching any food. Although so far my sad irons have not touched any food anyway. But if I were to use it on food, all I would really have to do is be sure that the underside here is completely cleaned off. However, it is still coming off nicely. Yeah, it's definitely coming off. Probably even stop that. Save water. All right, so this means I have a total of 1, 2, 3, I think 4 sad irons now. I do not want to start hoarding sad irons. I feel like the only reason I'm going to get a sad iron, including this one, is if there's something interesting about it that appeals to me. I mean, most of those sad irons out there are fairly generic, and I really don't have a reason to collect them. This particular one, of course, has the WAPOC logo. Yeah, WAPOC, either way. Naturally, that certainly appeals to me. All right. So far, so good. Yay. So here is a WAPOC number 6 sad iron. Does this say 6? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a 6. It does not feel like an 8. You would know an 8 if you've held one in your hands. I don't think this is an 8. All right, which means I'm going to do the same thing with this that I did with the others. Paper towel. You can see the pattern here. You know, at this point, I might just simply, well, I've got 2 other pans. I think maybe there's one other one as well I do want to pull out. So, all right. There we go. Mostly dry. Time now, once again, to get the Crisco. Yeah, this is different from a cast iron skillet because, like I said, most of the time this is not going to be touching food. Even when I use it to make pressed chicken, it doesn't touch food. It just touches the surface of another cast iron pan. Still, I am looking forward to getting some use out of this one. More. And I definitely am not able to put this into the oven upside down either. All right. WAPOC sad iron. Yay. So into the oven we go. Okay. So far there's room yet. All right. I retired 70 years ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, he set me down. I have PBS in the background. I want a penguin. I'm still working but thinking hard of retirement. Oh, well, so am I. But I still have several years to go yet. I need to work. I choose not to be a big spender and live with my means. Well, it's easy, although that's been a little harder than it has been, especially in my case, where it seems like I'm now supporting a family which has teenagers. Okay, just need something acidic. In the 1950 era, as many folks used sad irons to prop their doors open in summer. Well, yes, they do indeed, and even today still use them as door stops. In fact, that's what I use in my bedroom. In fact, I have a sad iron as a doorstop in my bedroom. However, I am glad to be able to get some use out of these sad irons here in the kitchen. All right, let's get down to it. Wow, we're actually getting the time's actually going faster than I expected, as usual. So let me pull out at least one more. Get this out, and let's see. We have. Don't look now. It's a trivet. This trivet does not have any markings on it. No, wait, I'm wrong. It's a Lodge trivet. Lodge USA 8DO. So this is in fact a Lodge Dutch oven trivet. Made carefully. hold this so that you can at least you might be able to see the markings. They are up where currently up near the thumb of my glove here. But yes, this is a Lodge trivet. Since it says USA, yeah, the Lodge logo is right on the top. Since it says USA, that means this is post 1970s. It could be anywhere from the 1970s through today. So let's do this one last time. Yeah, I'm going to be seasoning these tonight, but obviously we're not going to be able to see the finished product until later. It's a good thing, in fact, I am starting some vacation time tonight, which means I don't have to go to bed at 10, because it's probably going to take till at least midnight to give these cast iron pans at least one seasoning. However, interestingly enough, this one here seems to be almost rust-free. Hey, I'm liking that. That will make things a lot easier. Scrub this a little more. That means there we are. Here's our Lodge trivet. And I'm treating this exactly the same way I have treated the others. Paper towel. You get the idea by now. Don't worry. Once this goes in the oven, I've got a few other pans to show off so that we can still keep having a discussion. Paper towel. Get my rag. Rub a lot of Crisco on it. And on we go. I like that this one was practically rust-free. Yay, Lodge, I guess. But there we are, just like that. All right, let's get this in the oven. And this is going to be, what, the 6th cast iron piece, I think? So actually, we're not doing too badly tonight. 2 cast iron skillets. 1, 2, wait a second. Am I counting that right? Is it 6? No, it's 5. 2 cast iron skillets, a Griswold lid. Actually, yeah, that's right. A sad iron and a trivet. Not bad. Okay, I don't have a school night. We could party all night. Well, that's certainly possible. Although I still have to head out tomorrow morning. Not to work at least, but still. Okay, we went to Niagara Falls many years ago. Would love to go back to that. Yeah, that would be nice. How many pieces? I've done 5 pieces so far. There are 5 pieces in the oven. Okay. Before the hubby got sick, we would spend hours on Goat Island at the top of the falls. Excuse me. Anyway, so what can I say? I mean, as you can see, that's the basics on restoring vintage cast iron. It really does not require a lot of effort or a lot of cost. I simply threw those pieces into the lye tank and let them sit for weeks, or in this case, months, and I pulled them out when I felt like it. At which point, then I just went in with my barkeeper's friend, Glug, and then I coated them with Crisco, and they are drying off in the oven. The oven, by the way, again, is at 225 degrees. Before our session ends tonight, I will actually start with the first round of seasoning. Yeah, bottoms up. Okay, but while we're here, I mean, especially since, again, as I said, regrettably, my lye tank treasures were really not that exceptional. I decided, well, I might as well try to make up for it by showing some pans that I have, in fact, acquired within just the last year or so. All right, time to toss it up. Okay, which means all of these I was lucky enough to find within the last year. In fact, I was able to go to the Brimfield Antique Show once again last year, and it was there that I was lucky enough to find a Birmingham Stove and Range number 6. I talked about this one, in fact, just a couple of weeks ago when I was showing off my shadow of the camera. In fact, when I was showing off my yeah, when I was showing off my skillets, in fact, the skillets in my collection. Maybe I can move the light so that the shadow of the camera is not shining over this. Let's try to move this around a little bit. Let's see if that's any better. Okay, once again, though. And yeah, and for that matter, I cleaned this thing up the same way I cleaned all of these pans up tonight. Again, I soaked it in lye to get rid of any extra crud. Gave it a gave it a good scrubbing with barkeeper's friend. And then from there went into the oven, and I've given it like about 3 or 4 coats of seasoning. This is I was quite happy to find a number 6 BSNR Century. This was my first number 6. So in some respect, I guess I am slowly moving towards getting a full set of BSNR pans, and I'm actually quite happy about that. Besides, number 6 is a quite useful size, even if it is an uncommon one. And the Made in USA mark, of course, means that this is definitely post 1960s. It has a really nice, smooth, polished surface, too. So this thing is one of those pans you really enjoy cooking with. All right. I'm going into a sugar coma hitting this Kool-Aid. By the way, 50% chance of rain Saturday in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. May not go. Don't like wet cornbread. Well, there is that, William Hurt. And I had to say, regrettably, I'm not going to the National Cornbread Festival. It turns out my finances have kind of like gotten better of me, and I'm simply not able to afford to go on the road trip because, we're talking like between gas money, hotel money, and every other kind of money, I am not able to afford to go on that kind of a road trip at this time, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to sit this one out, regrettably. And I do regret it. I was looking forward to it too. But that's how it goes. Anyway, okay. But still, for anybody who is lucky enough to go to the National Cornbread Festival, even if it does rain on Saturday, there are still things to do, such as the Lodge Factory Tour, for instance. So here. And what's more, the rain will keep a lot of people away, so the crowds will be less. Number 6 is a handy size indeed. Yes, exactly. So that's what I'm going. Gotta learn to sleep in the car. That's certainly possible. Um, this is another pan that I need to get more use out of. In fact, I'll probably cook it within it very soon to be sure that I keep this thing nice and fresh. I mentioned that I had actually scored some other cast iron pans just before Christmas. Some of them I gave away as Christmas presents. 2 of them were nice enough that I just could not give them away. I've shown these ones off as well, but nonetheless, here we are again with the single notch Lodge number 8. This is one that, once again, when I got this, it was painted, and I threw this one in the lye tank, and the lye tank took care of the paint very nicely. So there was no difficulty at all to season this one up. Curious how there seems to be like almost a darker spot here all along the center, but nothing like that on the surface. So this must be only just how this particular pan was shaped. Oh, one other thing. Again, a single notch Lodge. The bottom of this is most definitely, or the cooking surface is most definitely polished and very, very smooth. So this is most definitely an early Lodge, that's for sure. But yes, this is one that I simply could not resist, despite the fact that I have something like about 15 number 8 pans. It was still not enough to keep me away from this. All right. I would adore number 6. Have 7s and 8s and 5s, no 6ers. Well, you never know when you might be able to find one because, thanks to that, I now have 2 number 6 pans. I have a number 6 3-notch Lodge pan and the number 6 Birmingham Stove and Range pan. So I'm actually quite happy with that. Oh, I have a third number 6 now. That unique hammered Lodge Museum of Cast Iron Skillets. That one that is definitely made to show off the history of the Lodge's cast iron. That's also a number 6 size. In fact, it's in the exact shape of the 3-notch number 6, except for the fact that it's hammered. Number 6s are uncommon. Yeah, that's a good word for it that I use too. It's not exactly rare, but it is uncommon. Any concerns of lead-based paint on the lodge? I really doubt it for the simple reason that lead paint was banned in the United States in, what would you say, like the 1970s or so? So we're talking like almost 50 years. And yes, there are still houses that have lead paint in them, but they were all painted before then. So that's why I'd say the odds now, if you come across a painted pan, I really think it's very almost impossible, almost not completely, but almost impossible that you would in fact have lead paint on it. Even the 3-notch lodges are very smooth. Yes, they are. That is for sure. Late 60s, 1968. Oh, that must be when lead paint was banned. So yeah, that's still quite a ways away. In fact, that's more than 50 years. 1968. Well, in fact, since I was born in 1967, that means whew, 56 years. So yeah, we are getting on in time. That's for sure. Okay. Cast iron Chris worked on a skillet with a dark spot in and out of vinegar, being very careful until he removed it. Yes, I've seen him. He puts a lot of effort into his pans. And so yeah, very yeah, he does great work with them too. And then he ends up selling them at very, very high prices. But hey, it's his business and he can charge whatever he wants. All right, getting on with it. Let me see. There's one other pan as well that, again, I've shown off a couple of times, and I have used this a couple of times, and I intend to keep using it. This is the other pan that I found recently at the flea market, and once again, I could not bear myself to give it away as a Christmas present, and that is the Wapak number 9 skillet. So yeah, despite you can see all the casting flaws here, which is pretty typical quality for Wapak. But nonetheless, despite this, the inside of this pan is quite smooth indeed. The seasoning, I seem to have gotten some blotches on it. So that's something I may have to work on yet. But still, I mean, anybody who owns a Wapak knows that these things are excellent cookers. This is almost certainly something you really don't want to get rid of for precisely that reason. I'm too lazy for a lot of effort. Just rebuilt my incel hubby. Just rebuilt my e-tank. Have a nice old number 10 spider in it right now. Just took out a Stumpy clone. Oh, really? So in other words, you found a BSR number 14. Well, congratulations. I've said enough good things about Stumpy that I'm sure you know you're going to get a lot of use out of that big pan. And so thank you. And well, congratulations for that. Lighter and cruder. Yes, definitely. Wapak performs like a Griswold, but lighter and cruder. That's definitely a way to put it. Yes. On the other hand, the food doesn't care. You're still going to get some great food out of that pan. I watch and learn from you all on my own. I'm a poor woman in cast iron. Chris won't get my money. Yeah, that'll cut my hunting in the wild allowance. Yet on the other hand, Cynthia Wesley, my understanding is you are building yourself a quite decent collection of cast iron as well from your hunting. So I'd say you are well on the way and you know exactly what you're doing. All right. At this point, I would have to say, remember I had said that let me move this lighter. Well, actually, this doesn't look too bad. Remember I had said I had put those pans in the oven to dry them off, so to speak, and evaporate the any water residue that was still there. So by now, these pans are almost certainly dry enough to actually get some seasoning done, which means time once again to pull out a couple of paper towels. And here's where I need to get a different glove because these pans are hot now. So now, Yeah. Time to pull out an oven glove. And I want to carefully step over this wire here so that I don't pull it out and disconnect the camera. I've done that once. I do not want to do that again. There we go. Okay. So that means now it's time to actually get down to some seasoning. As I mentioned, I had coated these things nice and thick with Crisco, which means for the first layer of seasoning, all I'll really have to do is wipe it off because that is, of course, the first step in seasoning cast iron. So let's get out the Wagner square skillet, which is looking pretty nice right now. And all I really need to do is wipe it down. Actually, I think I'm going to put a little bit more. I'm thinking there might be a little bit of residual rust still, but this is something that you can actually cover up with, with the whatever it is with your seasoning. Okay, just rub over that. Yeah, I think I will do it this way. And I'm going to give this one more coating of Crisco, which will melt immediately because this pan is at 225 degrees. There we go. Not bad at all. Likewise, the underside. And you can't forget the handle. Now that we've done that, now is the part where we take the paper towel and wipe it off. As they say, you wipe it off briskly. You don't have to be gentle because there will still be a residue on there to season. All right. And that's one. Wagner square skillet. Yay. And I have no idea if I'm going to keep this because, as you saw just today, I have a BSNR square skillet. Nonetheless, it's a nice pan. So let's get this into the oven. And that's number one. Number two, the Tangled frying pan. This is the one that some of those YouTube comments that deliberately try to troll you will have a field day with. It's like, why are you wasting all of this effort on a worthless Chinese, or better yet, on a toxic made in China pan? Yeah. I'm doing it because I want to. I've already given my reasons as to why I think this pan is amusing, and I'm more than happy as a result to be the owner of the frying pan. Frying pans. Who knew? Yes, I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it was a life-changing Disney movie, but it was very enjoyable. Okay. For the record, the surface is indeed rough, but I've seen Asian pans with rougher surfaces, so it's not too bad at all. Wipe it off. Wax on, wax off. Breathe in, breathe out. Oh, by the way, my coughing is a lot less noticeable than it was last week. Thank goodness. All right. And here is the frying pan. And into the oven it goes. Next, the Griswold lid. And we just do the same thing. Just simply give it a coating of Crisco. It is a nice lid, yes, definitely. And yeah, I mean, since I do actually have an Erie number 8, it's pretty tempting to consider using this with it. And the inside, especially the spots that were rusty, but are not rusty now. Ooh, careful. Yeah, that's the thing about cast iron. I mean, pretty much everybody has these little love kisses from hot cast iron. That's one of the hazards of this hobby. Now we just wipe it off. Now, my cast iron collection may not compare with the Mudbrookers, but I'm still quite proud of what I have here. And into the oven this one goes. Next, the Wapak Sad Iron. And we just do the same thing. Apply, repeat. Apply, repeat. Especially since, as you know, I'm gonna end up seasoning these things probably like about at least 2 or 3 more times after this. Probably not all in a row. I'll probably like maybe do a seasoning each night for the next 2 or 3 nights. But it gives me something to do. A little bit more here on the top. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to compare this. I think this might actually be a better quality one than my number 5 Wapak Sad Iron. I think the top side here may be a little less pitted. Here we are. Wapak Sad Iron. Let's get this one in the oven and we will get to the last one. A large trivet. And after this, it's likely going to be time to call it a night because, well, really, we've accomplished what we've set out to do. As I said, again, my lye tank did not exactly have a fantastic treasure trove in it. I said that at the beginning, and I will gladly admit it. On the other hand, there are some nice pieces of cast iron in there, some of which I'm actually glad to own, like that Tangled frying pan. Some of which might go into my give it away pile, or maybe I might end up selling it either way, because I know a lot of people may very well want a Wagner square skillet. But yeah, this large trivet is looking rather nice. And once again, give it a quick wipe off. Wipe on, wipe off, breathe in, breathe out, and into the oven it goes. All right, now from here, since we've already heated this to 225, we can go to the next step. And that is we raise the oven temperature. Come on, there we go. To 300 degrees. Once we do that, I'll give it another quick wipe, and then 400 degrees for at least an hour or maybe an hour and a half. And the first seasoning will be done. And that, careful here. Sorry, want to be sure again. I'm just stepping over these wires. Ugh. Ugh. And that is that. Don't careful. Don't want to trip over this. Oh, so there we go. As promised, I have cleaned out the lye tank tonight. Oh, better move this away from the oven. I don't want there to be any chance that this thing could burn or worse. Anyway, Okay, let's see what we have here. Lots of interesting stuff. Well, thank you very much, Val. I did my best really to be entertaining. My lye tank is a big Coleman cooler, nice tight lid. So Coleman, so in other words, that Coleman container must be lye resistant too. In which case, that's actually an interesting piece of news. I do 3 rounds at 450 degrees using canola. And yeah, here's the big question everybody does. It's like, what is the best thing to season your cast iron with? And there are like about 20 or 30 correct answers to it. I'm not going to say that Crisco is the best thing to season your cast iron with, because I do like those commercial seasonings that they have, which are a combination of usually Crisco and beeswax. Beeswax is good for seasoning cast iron too. So is canola oil. Olive oil, I think, has too low of a smoke point to really do a good seasoning with, and I would not recommend do seasoning with a low smoke point oil like olive oil. And I'll just say this once, and anybody who knows this channel will know what I'm about to say. I don't recommend flaxseed oil. I'm hoping the flaxseed fad has finally died down because I really don't hear a lot about it. Nowadays, most people are using things like grapeseed oil, which is fine, or coconut oil, which is overrated. But yeah, pretty much find whatever you want to season your cast iron with and go to town with it because it's not rocket science. It's not hard math either. It's not like there is one single answer that is right and all the others are wrong. There are many different ways to do this, and what I've done tonight is just one of them. Okay, I used flaxseed just because that's what I had. Next live stream, you should do a poll. Favorite seasoning fat. Oh, yeah, that should be interesting. Maybe I'll put that on my Facebook group, on my Facebook page, and we'll see how that turns out. Thank you. Well, thank you again as well for inviting me into your kitchen. Well, thank you again for the kind words, Val, as well. Let's turn this over here so that I can actually, okay, so that I'll be able to see all these comments without turning my back on you, as well as moving the mic over. Okay. Flax is too prone to chipping. That is true. In fact, I am going to have to put old Stumpy in the lye tank because his seasoning is actually flaking off, and I'm really like it or not, I'm gonna have to strip old Stumpy down and give him a good seasoning as well. That's gonna be a project to come soon. I don't know if I'll do it here live, but it's gonna have to be done. My people always use Crisco, so do I. So go ahead and do it, Fuzzfork8. There's certainly no reason not to. I used avocado. I did avocado last time. Avocado is good to finish with. Sunflower is also nice and shiny. Bacon grease. Oh yeah, I've used grapeseed. I can see I've opened a can of worms here when talking about oils to season with, but as I said, there's really no wrong answer to that. And this of course we can always continue this discussion another time because here it is Wednesday evening. And while I'm about to start some vacation, a lot of people here are not, which means it's really getting time for bed once again. So I can only thank everybody, as always, for your time and for your consideration. I do my best to entertain you with a silly hobby of mine. This live video, for instance, gave me an excuse to get those pans out of the tank, clean them off, and now they're in the oven seasoning where they should be instead of just sitting in the tank. So I'm actually glad that we've accomplished something tonight. So I can only thank you as well for giving me the incentive to do that. And Hog Wild, if you want a big lye tank, Ace Hardware usually have the 40-gallon tubs on sale. But my suggestion is to double the tank, keeps it from bowing. Yes, double it. I have actually two of those industrial waste bins. You know, those big round green plastic, but they're not plastic. They're a heavy polymer material or something. Those huge round green barrels. I have two of them, especially for that reason. They double up, but but the material there is lye resistant. I have not had any problem with them with all. They are huge, big enough to hold my 15-gallon cauldron, and that's the reason why I got them in the first place. And since I've had them, well, that's my lye tank, and so I'm quite happy to have that. And yeah, that's why I like the cooler, thick-walled, and usually polypropylene, pretty inert plastic. As always, fun show. Well, thank you very much, Ronald Coward, and thank you to everybody who's been kind enough to comment on this and well, keep it interesting. As I've done something really incredibly exciting. I washed pans, covered them with Crisco, and put them in the oven. But yeah, what can I say? It's a fun hobby, and I enjoy it, and so do we. So thank you as well to Cynthia Wesley for being here, and Incel Hubby, and Mark Sieber. Long as iron's getting cleaned and refurbished, any oil will work fine. Exactly. I paid $1 for the cooler at an auction. Well, that's another good reason to use it too. There you go. You got yourself. You gotta say BKF one more time. Okay. Barkeeper's friend. Glug. All right, but good night as well to Jimmy Langford and Pat Z and Rocket Caver. I need a big tank to do my 25-gallon kettle in. I'll try Ace. Well, best of luck for that. One option is you might need to actually do it in 2 steps. Namely, you might need to do the reverse electrolysis for the inside, and for the outside, you may have to do it the hard way. I certainly do not recommend using a wire brush or anything like that, but you may actually have to clean it off without the lye tank on the outside, unless you're lucky. And good luck. But as well, good night as well to Radagast off to make dinner, and Fuzzfork 8 and Ronald Coward and Greg Hart and everybody, and great times. And thank you very much to everybody, because next week is still April. It's the last day of April, April 30th. And you know what the last Cast Iron Wednesday of the month means? It's Walk Wednesday. And so that's what we'll be doing next week. Once again, we're going to be playing with the wok, and we'll all be here again having some fun. So thank you once again for your time, everybody, and thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to be here on my channel and to watch my videos. I very much appreciate that. Google does pay me for it, but I'm not really asking for donations or anything like that. So thank you very much, above all else, for enjoying my channel. That's really what makes me happy, and thank you so much. So have a good evening, everybody. And once again, as I always like to say, see you next Wednesday.